Welcome, Celine, and today we have a very special guest here. Uh, basically, it is a very interesting topic that we talk about. When I was small, I used to always hear this from my teacher, and it's a very famous uh, song which says, "Ke sera sera, what will be, will be. The future is not to see, ke sera sera." So, growing up days, I have always believed that future is not to be seen and it is destiny that we will have. However, as I grew, I saw I was at crossroads where I had to choose between multiple options, and sometimes it was easy to blame it on destiny versus sometimes it was easy to take it up myself and create my life. So today we have a very special guest who talks to us about owning one's life, or for that matter, leaving it on destiny to happen. We have with us the TEDx speaker Celine Schillinger. Is that right?
Yay!
She was made the Knight of National Order of Merit by the French government in 2017 for her efforts in diversity at the workplace. She is awarded many times as an entrepreneur, as a change practitioner, and a consultant. She has 30 years of experience in working in small and big organizations across several continents. She's based out of France right now, and she has a solid track record on transformation and bring about changes in companies. So let's speak to Celine today, and she's a very special friend. I'm very happy that she agreed to come on the platform and talk to all of us. So I want to start this talk with a very basic question for all the participants here on live Facebook as well as on the webinar. Do you believe that destiny determined your life, or do you believe that you created your own life? So if you believe that destiny is creating your life, please type D on the chat. And if you believe that you created your life, then type C. So we know how many believe what. Yes, Celine, the floor is to you. Tell us about your
That's
journey and tell us about your story. And people
that's
want to know,
so
why are you
yeah.
here to talk about this subject, really?
I'm here because I'm your friend, and because we met a few years ago, Hema and I have been very impressed by the purpose, the intention, the modernity of your thought, and how much you acted in support of your beliefs, and not in service of you, but in service of the others. And I have been very, very impressed by that,
Thank you.
and it resonates a lot with my own stuff. So I remember we've had this conversation a few years ago, and although we didn't know each other before, it felt like we were sisters,
Yeah.
sisters in crime, the crime of change, of trying to, yeah, it's a little bit related to your question, trying not to just to be on this journey in an active mode, to be on the life journey, uh, not just as passengers, not just on the passenger seat, but in the driver's seat. And that's a little bit what I've been trying to do. First, when I started at 23, leaving my hometown, my country, to go very, very far away to look for a job. So a little bit like diving into the unknown, not knowing what would happen, but taking taking the driver's wheel, and I was born in France in a very happy family. I've got all sorts of privilege. I was born in a stable, not wealthy, but quite okay family in terms of resources, and intellectual resources have been a great privilege. And then I went on, good studies, a good first job. And then I thought, but what is really due to my merit? What am I really worth? Is it just the result of my, a natural course of life that I will like follow, or
Yeah.
is it due to my will and my intrinsic merit? So that's what I wanted to test. So I went to Vietnam, age 23. I found a job there.
Wow.
I lived in a I lived in a Vietnamese family for 6 months, and I learned Vietnamese. I learned how yeah,
Okay,
not absolute.
I think we lost you a bit there. The internet kind of
Oh,
gave. So
is
the
it?
last thing
Am
I
I
got
back?
was, yes, you're back.
Am I? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Last thing I heard was you said you lived with a Vietnamese family there.
Yes, I lived with a Vietnamese family for 6 months. I started to learn the language. I took lessons for 4 years, so I had a pretty good level of Vietnamese in the end. I lost it a bit now. And then I went. I got another opportunity in France, so went back to France, and then I stayed 2 years, but I missed Asia, so I wanted to come back. So I found another opportunity in China, and that's where I started to lead a big group, a group of like 70 people in Beijing and Shanghai in the radio business.
Wow.
And then I got another opportunity in France and started at Sanofi, where we met and where I stayed 17 years in different roles. And the last role I occupied at Sanofi brought me to the USA with my family, my husband and 2 kids. And we stayed 3.5 years there. And it was, for me, it was a very, it was an important goal in life to try to offer to my kids this kind of international opportunity so that they see that what they believe in, what they are used to, is shaped by cultural norms, and that our cultural norms are not necessarily better or less good than the
Yeah,
ones of other countries. They are just different.
yeah, yeah.
Mm,
So that's an amazing take because you began your life with a question to explore what else is possible in the world, and you went ahead and explored them. We also see in your bio that you have won the Knight of National Order of Merit by the French government. I want to get
yeah.
that right. So, what was it about, and why were you awarded? How did it reach there?
Yeah. It came really as a surprise. It was granted to me by the French consulate in the USA after, I would say, a good decade of activism, of active involvement in support of man-women equality at work. I believe we have absolutely the same level of competencies, and we deserve, to access the same types of jobs or the same type of opportunities. And actually, I think it's better for teams, for organizations to have a diversity of viewpoints, and the viewpoint of women is very, very important. I don't think they are necessarily better, as managers or as leaders or whatever, but the same for men. They are not
Yeah,
necessarily better, or we just have different experiences and different viewpoints. So a team will be made richer and more relevant with a greater diversity. So my journey with that started a little bit late in life, I must say. When I turned about 40, I realized that we didn't have the same opportunities in this company I was working for. And I started a movement, but not a protest movement. I started a constructive movement, something that wanted to help the company with more ideas, more energy, more support, for to test things or to. And so I used social networks internally to
Mhm.
bring people together,
Mhm.
to crowdsource ideas, and to influence the company policy. We did manage to, for me, it was a great aha moment about the power of engagement and the power of connection.
Mhm.
We did manage to influence, maybe not as much as what I would want, but we felt empowered because we had, again, instead of sitting on the driver's on the passenger seat, we decided to
Yeah.
sit on the driver's seat, you see? And it
Amazing.
made a
Yeah.
huge difference in how we perceived things and even how we perceived ourselves. We were not victims anymore of a system, we were co-creators of a system, and that's very different.
Yeah, I love this word that you use, not victims, but co-creators in the.
Mm,
So when you see that you are probably not getting what you want, you start
yeah,
to create that in your life, which is such
yeah.
a great choice each one of us have. Now, Silly, I also want to ask you, since you work a lot with women creating their lives, and
Mm,
considering that in India we have family systems where women play a very important role, and at
yeah.
times, women have to take a break from their career or break from their passions per se, even sometimes friends, and
Mm,
they want to create their lives once they come back. So,
mm,
what are your thoughts on it, really?
yeah. I think, choosing the right partner in life is probably the most important decision a woman has to
This
take.
is all the single girls out there and the men.
And the problem is that when you're young, as a young woman, you tend to believe that what's most important is romanticism, love, etc. What is actually really, really important to me is that you find a partner that believes you are equal. You are an
Right.
equal human being. You have an equal worth, equal value, and so this, ideally, a couple works as a partnership, and with one supporting the other and vice versa. And it's an evolving partnership because we mature, our tastes, our challenges, our goals evolve in life, and that's totally normal.
Yeah.
um, we also need to be aware that even like us women are shaped very, very strongly by society and by what
Yes.
society wants from us.
Hmm.
And some things are okay, some things are not okay, like sharing, household chores
Hmm.
is a great enabler of women empowerment in the workplace, for example. It doesn't mean it has to be 50-50 all the time, etc. It
Yeah.
has to be like, it is fluid,
Yeah.
and but the best is to talk, to discuss. And I remember a friend of mine, for example, a girlfriend of mine, who felt overwhelmed with domestic chores. She felt like her husband was not doing anything. But then when I watched them once, she was preventing him from doing things because she criticized him all the time, saying, "Oh, you don't know how to do that. You don't know, don't take care of the kids
Yeah.
because you're doing crap." In fact, it was a way for her to maintain a sort of power, you
Yeah.
see, to maintain a sort of control over.
Yeah.
And in doing so, she was taking too much on her shoulders, and it was very detrimental to
Hmm.
her, but also to the balance in the
Hmm.
family. So the
Hmm.
the whole family was very unhappy.
Hmm.
And yeah, it was a bit sad to watch. Now, if you take a break as a woman because it makes economic sense, and
Hmm.
because you want to spend time raising your kids and so on, it's great, it's super. And you learn a lot of things during that period of time. You
Yeah.
you learn, you become a super good manager. Like for example, you manage complexity, you manage time,
Hmm.
you manage resources, you manage. So I think it's companies need to understand that women who want to come back to work after a certain period of time when they were off work are amazing, have an amazing potential. I remember a company that was in Japan, I think.
Mm,
Yes, it was Nestle in
mm,
Japan. I remember reading from it, or was it Nestle? I can't remember. A big company in Japan.
mm,
And in Japan, a big foreign company, and they had many young women employees, and then those women employees left the workplace to raise their kids because that's customary in Japan, and and then they were lost forever for
mm,
companies. They did not return to work, but many wanted to once the kids were raised and independent. And and this company understood there was a huge potential here in trying to recruit former employees.
mm.
And so they launched a big campaign to reach out after 10 years, after 8 years, 15 years, to those former women employees and say, hey, would you like to work with us again? And the women said, like many of them said, yeah, we couldn't wait for that. And they proved the most loyal, the most engaged employees because they
Yeah,
had been given a chance by the company. So
yeah,
maybe the one important thing I would say I would think of is to think about this period of time as not just as a break, but
mm,
as a constructive period where you learn more about yourself, you learn new skills, etc. So in the perspective of coming back, you see, it's not just a break. I do like something that is completely different, and then
yeah,
when I start again, I'm at level 0 again. It's not it. I think
yeah,
it's all a progression, you see.
yeah. Yeah. So there are two important things I really get out of this. One is to create your life. It's okay to ask people for help and support.
Yes,
And,
yes,
they may not be up to your standard, whatever your perceived standard is, but they do a pretty good job. The second thing
yes,
and I get is whenever you're on a break, you're not really a break because
yes,
life continues, you continue to
exactly.
grow, and you
Yeah,
continue to progress in your journey, which is so
yeah,
beautiful.
yeah,
So, tell me, Celine, so if somebody is in that stage where they feel, why me? Why
mm,
did this incident happen to me? And I feel like a victim. It's very easy to put my blame on somebody else than to
yeah,
actually take that up as a responsibility. What is
yeah.
your recommendation to get out of that victimhood situation?
Yeah. My default mode in that kind of situation is I switch to action. Action is the way I get out of that. So whether it is a related action or an unrelated action, but I switch to action mode. Because if I just stop and weep, and it's only getting worse.
Right,
You
right.
see?
So one of the things to get out of that mode is to take an action. The
Yes.
action may not be the perfect one, but it'll be a
Exactly.
stepping stone to
Yes, exactly.
things
It may
ahead.
be like prepare a trip to somewhere, or it may be I don't know, help with the local charity with something. I don't know. It's really completely, or it may be like cleaning up the house completely, whatever.
Yeah,
But switching to action, and of course. Talking with people, talking. It's not easy when you feel hurt.
yeah. I think that
um
is one of the very important things to do. A
yeah,
lot of us
yeah,
don't do that, is to
yeah.
talk when you're hurt.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
I read this very interesting quote from C.W. Lewis,
Mhm.
which said that, when your arm is broken, you
Mm.
can say my arm is fractured. But when your
Yes.
heart hurts, you
Mhm.
don't really go out and say that my heart
Yeah,
hurts.
yeah,
So I think I totally relate with you. We have
yeah,
a
yeah.
question from one of the participant who says, a woman can do, what can a woman do if the spouse is not ready to take up responsibility, like
Hmm.
purchasing a house, taking care of parents, etc.
Yes. It's really difficult. It's really difficult. One thing that I have seen working with me, at least, is to reevaluate our level of request or what we see as perfection. For example, I give you a concrete example.
Oh,
You
that's a
feel
nice
the
way to look it up.
yeah, you feel the house is not clean enough.
Right.
Okay, the first reaction would be, oh, I'm going to clean the house, right? And then my partner will continue to watch TV in the couch. You can do it once, you can do it twice, but then after a while, if you keep doing that, you establish a pattern, right?
Yeah. Right.
Establish a habit. And then the one time where you say, well, I'm tired, I don't want to do that, the partner, and that will feel totally legitimate to the
Yeah.
partner, will say, hey, what do you do? Oh, you like,
Right.
please clean the house as you do usually, you know. So I think we need to be very, very careful about habits.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to, like, still with this example, stop being the one who always cleans the house.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then maybe you need to accept that your house will be a little bit less clean. And if the partner says, hey, I think the house is not very clean, we'll say, well, let's talk about it. Because
Right.
I too have other things that require my time and that I want to do. And I would like to, discuss about us doing it together, for example. I
Yeah.
do 2 rooms and you do 2 other rooms,
Yeah.
whatever. But having a dialogue rather than going to arguments right away, or but also, if you can be comfortable with a house that is a little bit less clean, it's okay, you know
Yeah.
for
So probably
example.
have a dialogue. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
create opportunities for dialogue. There's a book called Difficult Conversations, if I remember.
Okay.
There's a whole method you can find on the internet. It's really interesting how to not avoid difficult conversations, but there are ways
Mm-hmm.
to address difficult conversations in a constructive way. There
Mm-hmm.
are there are techniques. For example, you talk about the problem, you don't talk about the other person.
Right.
You don't start a sentence by you.
Mm.
You didn't clean the house, for example, because this is like straight going to argument.
Yeah. The
But
person
and
becomes defensive.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, completely,
Yeah.
completely.
Yeah.
You talk about your feelings, how this thing makes you feel. Those kind of techniques. It's very, very useful, I feel, to at least have a general understanding of this, how it works.
Yeah. Right. I think that's an interesting suggestion, and I will definitely pick that book up
Yeah.
to take down different methods. So, Celine, I also wanted to know that a lot of us, a lot of the people are actually wrote date or destiny creates their life on the chat and the
Mm.
comments. So, for people who believe that destiny is creating their life and they can't change it at all, what can you say to them?
Yes. Well, and first I want to say a big hello to my friends. I see on the some of the names on the chat. Lavanya, hello.
Yeah,
Nagarjuna, hello. These are people I have been so lucky to work with,
yeah,
and I keep them very, very dearly in my heart. So back to your question, do we have a choice? I think my answer is a mixed of yes and no, and maybe it's a continuum,
mm,
and even the answer to this is not the same at all times in life. A lot of what we do is shaped, influenced by our education, obviously,
true.
and the culture we live in, and also the capital of love, the capital of assurance that we receive from a young age.
Mm,
I think if you are cared for and loved and solid, I would say, if you have solid foundations, emotional foundations, then
mm-hmm,
you are in it's then it's easier
Hmm.
to lead your life, to manage it, to take turns, to say no, to say I want to do it my way. It's
Hmm.
so this is a privilege that not everybody has,
Right.
um, and we need to. That's why I insist on solidarity and helping one another. A society is only solid
Hmm.
as long as it cares for the weakest of
Hmm.
its members.
Right.
The children, the disabled,
Right.
the poor.
Hmm.
It's the weakest links
Hmm.
determined the strength of the whole. You see.
Hmm.
And so this is one thing. We don't have the same chances at the beginning. We don't have
Right.
the same opportunities. Now, after that, I think, yes, it is a matter of choice. A matter of choice on how you react to situations,
Hmm.
how you develop a narrative around
Hmm.
situations. Is it something that happens to you, or is it something that creates an opportunity to
Hmm.
evolve, to do different, to do
Hmm.
better, to etc. You see?
Hmm.
So you said the word choice in the very
Yeah.
beginning. I think that's really, really important. But it's
Right.
not choice like abstract in an abstract way or in you see that I lived in the US several
Hmm.
years, and it's almost an ideology of choice. People believe that if you want, you can.
Hmm.
If you work hard, you can become a millionaire.
Hmm.
I don't quite believe that. I think it's an ideology that serves some
Hmm.
people, that
Hmm.
serves some economic interests.
Hmm.
I don't think it's true. I think it's for many people, they
Hmm.
don't have a chance because there's
Hmm.
no, social benefits. There's
Hmm.
no care for them. There's no good education for them. So it's maybe 0.0001%
Yeah.
reaches this
Yeah.
dream, but the rest have no chance.
Hmm.
Anyway, we do have, yes, choices in how we decide to how we shape our lives, how
Hmm.
who we get with. For
Hmm.
example, I remember some of my friends at school were always going were always making friends with others that were um, less brilliant, less educated than them, so
Hmm.
they could shine easily.
Right.
I was always going with people better than me, so I could learn from them.
Right.
I was always I wanted to grow.
Motivated. Yeah. To
Yes, I
choose
wanted.
more and more.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I think
Yeah.
choosing to grow continuously, being a continuous learner,
Hmm.
is probably a good way to take your life into your hands. Because if you learn,
Hmm.
you're not a victim anymore. You keep learning, and everything that happens to you is a learning opportunity. You see?
Awesome. I
Mm,
really love this thought process. So, I what I get out of it, that always in your life situations may come and go. It may not always be sweet and glory for
yeah.
you, but you always have choices, and not abstract choices, because they will not lead you to where you want to.
Mm,
Actual
yeah.
choices, and you can choose to shine in a weaker community or choose
Yeah.
to learn and continue to grow, which is
Yes.
so
Yes.
beautiful. So probably the one of the important steps what I pick up from here is to be a learner all my life, to be a
Yes.
learner and to
Mm,
see on the positive side, which really helps me grow in every season of my life. So we
yes.
have an
Mm,
interesting question by Sharad. He says, what can one do when there are divisive forces that try to divide people basis of religion, nationality, cultures? How can
mm.
we unite people amidst of that?
Sharad, this is such a great question. Such a great question. You know, it gives me goosebumps because I'm very sad sometimes at looking at the news. I I feel it's so easy for some people to exploit those themes, those divisive themes, and it's so easy to raise people against one another when in fact there's much more that unites us. We have much more in common as compared to what
Yeah,
is different from one another. Like seriously, I've lived in different countries. I've worked with with people of different continents, different cultures, and I've realized that we all share the desire to be respected, to be heard, to be seen, and to contribute to the greater good. We all have that. Why can't we, foster that instead of fostering hate? Well, the answer is there's a big competition for resources and for
hmm,
power.
hmm.
Um, and it's what can we do against that? Well, we can maintain a direction, an ethical direction,
Hmm.
uh, in support of those values of common good, of connection, etc. And I have found that social connections and digital tools are a great enabler. And what you're doing here, Hema, with this webinar is connecting people
Yeah,
around good stuff, good values, positive, like lose your blues, don't be sad, let's find a way together, etc. So what Hema is doing is maybe not as powerful as what Mr. Trump is doing, unfortunately, but we all do our little bit, and I believe the forces for good are greater than the forces for evil. I
yeah,
sincerely believe that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So
Sharad. Yeah,
keep doing the good, keep connecting with great people, keep shining the light on them, inviting them to tell their stories, even if it's at the small perimeter, the perimeter of your village, of your local community,
yeah,
it's fine, and it needs
yeah,
to happen. And if you don't do it, then who will do it?
yeah. Wonderful.
Mm.
Thank you, Sharad, for asking such a beautiful question. So we have another question which says, what if a woman takes up a job abroad for her career as well as future family needs? Partner is not somebody really angry with their partner. Partner is not ready for this decision nor ready to move with the woman. But if this condition is with the spouse, then the whole family has to relocate.
Hmm. Yeah, it's sometimes it can be really tough, huh? For some people are in tough situations because their partner, their family, they're all are trying to put that person into a small box.
Yeah,
And what that person would like is to get out of this box, and it's not easy.
yeah,
And for that, I have found that I'll go back to the knowledge and learning thing. I have found, and the digital world offers opportunities to connect, to make new friends, to learn from other people, it gives you a strength. I'll give you another example to illustrate what I'm saying here.
yeah,
At Sanofi, when I launched the diversity movement, I was just I was alone. I was just a single person. How could I myself, I was not the CEO, far from that. How could I influence the policy of a big company? It was impossible. But in fact, by connecting with other people, by creating a network, by exchanging ideas, by focusing on a purpose, um, that gave all of us strength to grow,
wow,
to grow our wings and to learn. And
yeah,
this simple little thing of trying to make connections and finding people who shared my ideas and
hmm,
asking what can we do together, This simple thing has changed my life completely.
Amazing. You know what? I get goosebumps. So I also understand, Sonali, where you're coming from, but this also tells you in whatever situation you may be, in whatever box you may be, you always have a choice. You
Mm.
have to find what your calling is, whether to connect to
Yes.
people, or whether to, make a network, but nobody can stop you if you decide that you want to do it. And I think that's what I see in Celine's life also.
Mm.
So we have another question which says that how easy or difficult is it to live on your own terms when you have a family?
Hmm. That's a good question. That's a very good question. It is not easy because you receive judgment from others.
Yeah,
For example, for many years in my life, I have been traveling a lot, like traveling internationally. And some people I know said, "How can you raise kids when you're never at home?" You know, and sometimes this kind of remarks hurt me. I did my best. I think we all do our best. You
yeah.
know, no one wants to be evil for their family. No one. So I did my best. I loved my job. I told my kids once my youngest daughter asked me whether I preferred my job or my kids. And that was a very mean question. And I know she was pissed off for some other reason. And I explained to her, as I explain other people, that if they want to have a happy mommy, then a happy mommy is a mommy who travels. If they
Oh,
want to
wow.
have, yeah, that's because I love my job. So I can only be a good mommy if I'm happy personally and at work, because yes, it's an important thing. So I could be on the opposite. I could be every day at home, but then I would shrink. I would not be
Yeah.
really flourishing in my personal life, and I wouldn't be a good mummy. I don't think so. So that's the kind of thing she understood, I think, and eventually at some point they will even be proud of that when they grow up.
Superb. I think that's an awesome thing because it also tells me that, being you first really makes others happy around you as well.
Yeah.
So probably
Mm.
that's the best answer to your question, that when you be you and you are happy, you make people
Yes.
around you happy.
Exactly.
Amazing.
And you cannot raise independent children, I mean, and tell them to be strong and to lead their lives if you don't do it yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is my second learning in the talk for creating my life. That is to choose to be me at all times. And that is
Yes.
what will make others happy too. So we
Yes.
have another question that says destiny overtakes hard work. So what do you have to say on that? Sometimes you work really hard, but you just cannot get there.
Yes, it does. Sometimes it does take really hard work, but if you're led by passion and purpose, it doesn't feel like work. It feels like I remember learning about social networks, trying different things. I worked till like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I had to wake up at 7 the next day or 6:30. I didn't mind. It was and my husband said to me, "You're crazy, you should go to bed." I said, "Yeah, yeah, I'm coming, don't worry, don't worry." And then I kept on learning, and it happens all the time these days. I'm working on a book project. I want to write a book,
Wow.
and it's I don't know how to write a book. I've never tried it. I never done it before, so it's painful. It shortens my sleep and my nights, but I'm so
Right.
happy to do that. It's a long time project I carried, and now finally I'm giving it actions. I'm supporting it with real tangible actions, so I'm happy. It's whatever. I don't mind if it's a success, not a success. Maybe it won't be I hope it will be published, but maybe it won't be read by many people. But I did it for
We will
me.
read it.
It's fine. It's fine. It's a discipline also. I love the
Yes.
discipline of working hard. You know,
Yes.
it keeps you growing, and it keeps you humble, because
Mm-hmm.
you realize that there's a lot of work before being able to shine on a topic. I don't know if,
Mm.
actually, the more I learn, the less I feel I know. But it's okay. It's okay.
Oh,
It's fine.
wow. So this also says that when you love what you're doing, probably it doesn't feel like hard work.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
you just
Yeah.
want to learn, learn, and learn
Yes,
and
exactly.
progress. Yeah.
Yes, and some people say, "Oh, but I haven't found the thing I love to do." And I said, "Well, what do you believe in? What is your driver as a human being? What are you trying to accomplish? What are you Is there anything you want to fight for? And I know I wanted to fight for men women equality at work. And that
Mm.
led me to different fields where I realized that I wanted to change the world of work. I wanted to change the work experience for people. And I've done great work with Nagarjuna, with
Yeah.
Vijaya, with all those people who have we have connected our
Mm.
purpose. You see,
Mm. Yeah.
uh, and that's where it's important to speak about it. If you don't share your purpose, then people
Mm.
cannot necessarily guess
Mm.
it. But if you share it, if you speak about it, if you're open about
Mm.
um, your deep motivation, then you have more chances to meet other people who connect with that, and then do something together.
Amazing. So probably this is my third learning from your talk right now, which tells me that when I want to create my life, it can get messy because initially I may not know what is it I really want. I ask questions around, what is it that drives me, or for me it is gives me goosebumps. So that's what I know,
Yes.
how it works. And then connect with people with similar the vision, and connect with a
Yes.
brother or sister around and start your
Yes.
creations. Amazing. The
Yes.
other question that we have here, it says, what would you suggest for people who are ending their life in the face of no agreement? So there have been
Mm.
some cases on suicide lately in India, in Mumbai per se. So I think
Mm.
the question is more in that context. So what are
Mm.
your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's very sad. It's very sad. I understand some people believe there's no possibility, there's no exit, there's nothing else to do. It's absolute despair to reach that conclusion, and it makes everybody around extremely sad as well. Their families, their friends, etc. It's sad. I wish we could extend our hands earlier to these people. I wish they could say earlier on, "Hey, I've got a problem. There's something not right." Um, and the problem is that in many companies or many cultures, it's important it feels important to be strong,
Yeah.
to appear,
Happy.
yeah, exactly. It's
Facebook, the
Yeah,
Instagrams. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, yeah. The
Yeah.
influence of social networks is
Yeah.
devastating. You see on teenagers, for example.
Yeah.
So I think, again, reading about this, learning about how brain works, how social habits form, about the influence of taking a critical eye. Sorry about the dog. uh, Taking a critical eye on how society works by learning, by reading, by um, enables, probably not all the times, but enables
Yeah.
probably to take a little step back, a little distance from one's own feelings of despair.
Hmm.
And again, finding friends, having a social life where you don't only focus on yourself, but you can focus on others. So decentering you know, our perspective a little bit
Yeah.
from ourselves so that we don't feel the pain too much. But I understand it's very hard with
Mm.
COVID because
Mm.
our lives are completely
Blown out.
reshuffled and
Yeah.
blown away. Yeah, and we have to keep social distancing, and it's not easy. So connecting, for example, one of the things I did at the beginning of the lockdown in France was to establish a virtual weekly cafe,
Ah, that's nice.
and anyone who wanted to join joined. But it's a little
Hmm.
bit like what you're doing, Hema.
Yeah.
It was offering an opportunity for people to get together and exchange, and that was, and I know one of the persons who participated was alone in a very tiny apartment. She was
Mm.
pretty depressed, and she found this virtual weekly cafes enormously helpful.
Mm.
So, you know, we all do our share. Again,
Yeah. Do
maybe
your
very
bit.
little. Exactly. It can be
Yeah.
very, very small, but it can have a big impact, even on one life, and one life is enough.
Yeah. So there is an interesting question. We have Dr. Yatin asking, in Indian society, marriage cuts short careers of many women as home responsibility takes precedence over everything else. What are your views, advice, and have you come across such cases since you come from a different country?
Yeah, I've come across this many times, and also, for example, in a very different society in the US, because the cost of childcare is so huge that many very educated women who have like spent, you know, tons of money on education just stop working because they have no choice. They have to take care of the kids because it's so expensive. And yeah, unfortunately, the burden always falls on women in that case. I mean, some are very happy about it. I think society loses a lot from the withdrawal of women from the workforce. We lose a lot of good ideas, a lot of talent, a lot of
Hmm.
potential. So as much as we can, we should try to correct that, either by, for example, applying for political positions. I didn't do it. I'm not interested, but I value those who do and who want to change things there. We can also try to influence our companies to make things more, I mean, easier for women
Mm.
who have children,
Mm.
but also for men who have children, because a lot of our policies discourage men
Mm.
from taking care of their kids. And some
Mm.
would love to, especially the
Yeah.
younger generations. They would
Hmm.
love to be, but there's this social stigma, you know, around men who take good care of their kids. And of course, there's also another very, very important question for us women is, how do we raise our kids and how do we raise our sons? You know, do we
Hmm.
raise our sons as little kings who will expect everything from women? Or do we raise them as modern, helpful, you know, partners for their family and their future uh, partners in life?
Yeah.
So it's a lot of responsibility is on
Hmm.
us as well, you know, as
Yeah.
mothers. Yeah.
Yeah. True. We also have a question saying that if choice is a tool, then and if we make choices and we don't keep our families in mind and make a
Mm.
choice just as an individual, what if the
Yeah.
family is affected by your choice?
Yes, yes, I totally agree with that the idea that's behind the question. I totally agree with that.
Hmm.
I think our choices, and when we said earlier, you, you've got to be yourself first. Yes, I would say yes, but you've got to be a generous yourself first. You know,
What do you
not a
mean by
selfish
generous?
yourself.
Ah, okay.
Generous, yes, not a selfish. I mean, selfish is a normal moment in life, and we
Hmm.
had like the teenagers, kids, teenagers are very selfish. They want to, and it's totally normal. It's by its identity building, so you need to know about yourself and explore. But we can also be socialized also early on, to care for others, so that we understand we are important, yes, for sure, but we are important as part of a system, as part of a social system, a
Yeah.
community. And
So we are
some,
interconnected no matter
yes,
what.
we are
Yeah.
completely
Yeah.
interconnected.
Yeah.
And if that's feeling, this feeling of and more than just a feeling, but actions of care, generosity, contribute to our development, our personal development as well. So we give, we receive, and it's all an evolution.
Yeah. Yeah. So there is another question. I think there are a lot of women who want to do a lot of things and
Mm,
asking questions now. If you really have something to do in your life, but many times circumstances are not allowing us to do them, then
mm,
what should one do in that case?
yeah. Then maybe I'll post later in this group a speech I did
Yeah.
about. It was the speech in 2016 about trying different things and experiencing setbacks. So I
Yeah.
tried, I grow my movement, etc. It's great. I feel that I'm on the verge of succeeding, and poof, big setback. And then I try something else because I've learned from the first thing. And again, I grow. I think, oh yeah, this is better, and baff, another setback. And and then, but you see, it's not back to the
Yeah.
original point. It's back a little bit higher in terms of knowledge.
Wow.
And and this is whole. There's also a funny drawing, a funny cartoon you can find on the internet that
Hmm.
shows the difference between your path of your course of life as you imagine it. It's like a straight line,
I've
and the
seen that.
reality, it's like
Like this.
yeah, big hole, big gap, big drowning in the river and then recovering. And it's really funny, and that's exactly it. It's so, yeah, sometimes things you would like to happen don't happen, but then depending on how you frame that, it may be the end of everything and you're very sad and you never recover, or it can be an opportunity to
To move
learn,
ahead.
to move on, to do something else that ends up being actually even better.
Wow.
See?
So I get my fourth point here on creating your life. So I understand that creating what you want to create can be really messy. And you may
Yes,
not reach there on your first step. You may
yes,
take baby steps on the way,
yes,
fail,
mm,
and take baby steps again to something,
yes,
experiment, and then fail. But every time you step ahead, you step a little higher than where you were, and
yes,
slowly but
yes,
steadily you will reach where you want to, maybe not the way that you
yeah,
thought or imagined, but you will
exactly.
definitely reach there.
Yes,
So
exactly.
oh, this is amazing.
I think Rajita Kamat summarized it very well, saying it can be looked at capability building time. Yes,
You,
absolutely. Uh,
yes.
of course, there's the pain of not succeeding, and it's totally normal. But pain cannot be avoided in life. I think pain is part of emotions that
Hmm.
we need to experience it
Yeah.
sometimes, because it makes us human. We are not
Yeah.
always successful and great and happy.
Hmm.
Sometimes we feel miserable, and but the important is that it doesn't stay like that too long,
Yeah.
and that we can
It's not forever.
kick back. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
So I have a question here, probably from a mother who says, how can I get more respect from my children? So probably
Mm.
when the children grow big.
Oh, yes, that's a very, very interesting question. All the more that I too have teenagers, at least one teenager, and sometimes it's like he's trying to test me, you see, and trying to see up to where he can go. And there are things that don't matter too much. It's fine. You don't want to fight on everything, but some important principles, yes, you do want to. So I think, of course, it starts by respecting yourself first, so that the others respect you as well.
Yeah.
Just to give you a tiny example,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm unhappy that my kid
Mm-hmm.
doesn't keep his room tidy,
Mm-hmm.
but then if I do it, like I go every day to his room and I put it back nicely, and I put all the dirty clothes in the laundry, etc., then I don't respect myself,
Right.
because I'm acting as his servant, and it's not
Mm.
good.
Mm.
But I will do it sometimes because I'm really pissed off of seeing this room so
Mm.
untidy. But then
Mm.
at some point, what do you do? If you keep doing that all the time, you establish
Mm.
a pattern, and he will
Mm.
think, oh, it's okay, I can just throw my
Things around.
dirty
Uh,
things on the floor because mom will be there and pick it up, and it's not great. It's not
mm.
what you want to do. So pick your battles. I would say pick your battles. Some things are really important, some things are not so
Mm.
important.
Yeah.
Respect for people is really important,
Yeah.
because it's a key for success in life.
Mm.
I think if young children or teenagers don't learn to respect people,
Mm.
they will have a hard life. We also need to realize that kids are often much better behaved outside when they go out, when they meet other people, than what they do at home.
Yeah. Yeah. So, one more important point is respect yourself to really
Yes.
create the life
Oh,
and to
yes.
also get other people respect you. So,
Yes. Self-respect. Yes.
we have another question which says then should we advise grown up children or should they just learn from their own experience?
Uh, that's a great question. I think advice has a very limited impact. What has more impact is how you behave. It's not what you say, it's what you do.
Oh,
So
wow.
if you act, if you act yourself in a way, I mean, in a consistent way with what you believe and what you're trying to transmit, children, and even like people at work will learn from that. If you say something and you behave differently, yeah, they will only see how you role model. What do you
Right,
role model? You know,
right, right.
it's the same at work.
Mm-hmm.
When leaders at work advocate for change, yes, we want to transform, but then they keep behaving exactly the same way if they've done before.
Hmm.
We all, as employees, we all see that, and we
Hmm.
all see
True.
that there's no change. So why would we make
Yeah.
an effort to change?
Hmm.
No reason. Mm.
So behaviors speak and louder.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a few last questions. Since we are in the pandemic, a lot of
Yeah.
things for people have been destroyed, and people are
Yeah.
going to start creating once again. Life may
Mm,
not be like it was
mm,
before. So,
mm,
do you have any thoughts on people who are looking at creating their lives afresh or
mm.
new, starting again?
Yeah. Yeah. It's very complicated times. It can be perceived as very dangerous from a health perspective and from an economic perspective. Many people are feeling depressed or anxious. I myself feel like I'm walking on thin ice. You see, I'm walking on a lake that is, frost, but I don't know how thick the ice is. and whether it can bear my weight or not. So
Yeah.
it's very uncertain. Those people who feel more comfortable in uncertainty,
Hmm.
those people with a growth mindset, with a learning mindset, will fare better than those who can only thrive in certainty. Those who need to be sure of everything before moving up. And there's a big difference between. I mean, I don't want to do it to uh, like, give the feeling that it's black or white. It's this. We're
Yeah.
all on a continuum, and some situations make us feel provide more certainty. Others provide more uncertainty. But the really important thing is learn, think about yourself, take care of yourself, and keep connecting with others, because it's this, by keeping this social link, this social fabric, um, despite what's happening,
Hmm.
will enable us to recover
Right.
faster. you
Right.
know
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm seeing people that we cannot underestimate the effect of fear on people.
Hmm.
It's a venom.
Hmm.
Some people become crazy because of fear. They start believing crazy things, like conspiracy
Hmm.
theories, and this is all made up, and
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
crazy things.
Yeah.
um, I think we need to be compassionate,
Hmm.
and recognize that this is one of the effects of fear.
Hmm.
And the more we can counteract this effect, like by bringing joy, by bringing connection,
Hmm.
by contributing to common good, by those kind of things, we can a little bit counterbalance this effect of fear.
Hmm. Hmm.
Mm.
So wow. So I see a very clear message here that if we want to rise back to probably being better than what we were earlier,
Mm.
we have to keep connecting. We
Yes.
have to get comfortable with being in uncertainty, and
Yes.
we have to keep upbeat no matter what, because
Yes.
this
Mm.
shall not last as well.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
We will find a way, one way or another, and we need to remain united in our humanity. You see, it's very easy to dehumanize other people, especially if you only see them on the screen. You
Yes.
don't see them in person anymore. It's very easy to
Hmm.
then start to think that some people are evil and some
Hmm.
people are whatever,
Hmm.
useless. You know,
Hmm.
uh, let's keep very strongly connected to our common humanity. I
Hmm.
think that's the key.
Hmm. So, what is your last one message on taking accountability for your life, being
Mm.
responsible for your failures, and creating your own life? What is your last message for people?
Maybe one last thing would be to uh, keep telling your story, and keep telling, and journaling, making keeping track of what you think, how this has evolved. I've been doing that for many years now, and I realize it has enabled me to reflect and other people to connect with me, and it has enabled me to grow. So finding ways to tell your story, it can be a blog, it can be social media, it can be other things, but keeping a track of what you learn, and
Oh,
why you
that's
learn that.
very interesting. I've never heard anybody tell me that before. To keep a
Mm,
track of your own story and see how you're
yeah,
progressing and learning by the
yeah.
day. Probably
Mm,
write a blog, keep a journal,
yes,
and keep going
yes,
back to it and see if that's the direction you wanted to go, or you want to choose
yeah,
something and go in some other
exactly,
direction.
exactly.
Amazing, amazing. I'll do that from today onwards. Thank you so much for that. Celine, it was so lovely having you here, and for all those audiences who have come in new. I see a lot of them new over here. My name is Dr. Hema Bajaj, and I know I'm introducing myself in the end because I wanted you all to stay here in order to know who I am. And we have this little platform where we feature one real life hero, and my hero today is Celine, who tells us practical implementable aspects. I want to end this talk by a very beautiful quote from Hal Elrod that I read, which said, "The moment you take responsibility for everything in your life, it is that moment you can change anything in your life." So, with that thought, I want to thank you, Celine, again for coming down at such a short notice and being here with all of us. And guys, we will see you again next week, same time, same day, on the same place with a new real life hero. Thank you so much, Celine.
Thank you so much, Hema, and
Bye.
thank you very, very much, everybody and my friends.
Yeah,
Thank you. Hang
bye,
in there.
Celine.
Bye bye.
Thanks.